here we are in Rotherham on the 30th of May 2024 with our RDASH full board meeting in public with a very small meeting in private later on this afternoon. We aren't through the whole agenda yet, but just to do my usual report on what's been happening this morning. It's a big day. We always have big board meetings, that's nothing new, but this is a particularly intensive day with some very serious reports in front of us. So just to go through the main items that I want to talk about. There's been a real theme this morning about how we include staff in the direction and strategy of the Trust. So a conversation about staff governors, more of which later. Conversation about how Toby and I are going to meet with our staff networks. We have 4, the usual staff networks, but to look at how they work, what they can do, what they can help us do to make this a better place to work. And you add on to that a review of what we're going to call our staff council, which will bring together Freedom to Speak Up Guardians, the trade union movement, our staff governors and our staff networks, to give us that really broad view of what it's like to work in RDASH and to use those staff as a real resource for the Trust. They are our workforce. If anybody knows what's going on, they do. And that voice will be stronger and louder with the work that's to come through the rest of the year. So very exciting for me to see that happening. We've agreed a new constitution for our Council of Governors this morning, and my grateful thanks to Joe Cox, who joined us briefly to talk through the new constitution. My thanks to governors who've been hugely involved in putting this new constitution together. This is about how we recruit our governors to really make sure that the whole of our patch is represented, that staff are represented, that our partners are represented. Governing bodies in a foundation trust are the top of our governance. And there is some sort of statutory requirements around that. But we need to look at how we structure our Council of Governors to make sure that everybody who should be represented is represented. We'll be going into elections later in the year. One of the big issues is that we are very, very short of staff governors. So if you are a member of staff and you are listening to this, please consider being a staff governor, because it's a really, really important role, and you get to be part of the governance of this trust, and that is really, really important. But my thanks to everybody who has put this together, and particularly to Phil Gowland as our Director of Corporate Affairs, or whatever his title is, because he's led this work from an executive point of view, and it was a great piece of work, and it flew through the board this morning. So we're very, very pleased to see that, including, I think, some young governors, which is new, and which our Council of Governors, the governors who've been involved, really wanted to see, to bring young people into that environment. And it's so important that we don't miss that voice in what we're doing. A really big debate on our new leadership development programme. Thank you to Carleen for bringing that to the board. Leadership development can get a bit of a bad press, can't it? And you think, yeah, we just tip up to this course and we'll tick some boxes and we'll do leadership development. That is not what we're doing. We will have a leadership development programme that really strengthens the leadership and the skills of our leaders within this trust, because if we don't do that, we're not going to deliver the strategy that is so important to us and the promises that sit within that strategy. So it was a big debate this morning on leadership development. Be a bit of a soft launch soon, and then it'll go in its full strength to our leadership conference in the autumn. And we look forward to see that come together and make a real difference for people who are in leadership positions in the trust. And then just before we broke for lunch, and I'm obviously speaking to you at lunchtime, a report that Joe McDonough brought on what we call our Strategic Objective 2, which has a long title, but really is about how this trust will impact on narrowing inequalities in our communities, particularly, of course, health inequalities, or how you access our services. Now, we've been trying to do this for a long time. Everybody knows that. the NHS has been working on reducing health inequalities for as long as I've been in the NHS, which is sort of back to 98. It's hard. It's the hardest thing we'll ever do. Nobody has all the answers to this, and it's a massive agenda. But there was a very sensible, knowledgeable debate in the board, and we've got some really, I suppose, focused ideas of what we can do in the coming months to start to impact with this strategic objective, with the promises that sit in this strategic objective as we go forward, particularly around rural communities and rural poverty and ill health. That came forward this morning, and how we make sure that we poverty-proof our services so that we're not exacerbating people's problems by making it harder for them to access services. And I'll quote from Joe, that it's so easy to talk about hard-to-reach groups, isn't it? But Joe called it easy-to-ignore groups. And that struck a chord with me this morning, that they're not hard to reach, they're just easy to ignore. And we will make sure that this trust doesn't do that, that we are ensuring that everybody in our communities has the best access we can possibly give to the services that we provide. You'll have got from that, it's been a big morning, some big debates, some real thinking around the board table, and with more to come this afternoon. Full board as usual on the website if you want to listen to it all or listen to any of those debates in more detail. Thank you for watching this, and we'll see you in a couple of months. Thank you.